McCaffrey's going to get it, and he walks in. Touchdown, San Francisco.
What up, what up? This is Big Pun from South City. You are now listening to The Morning Motherfucking Rose with my boys Bonte and Shasky on 95.7 The Game.
You know, as we get into the segment, Shasky, shout out to Big Pun. Good morning to you. Good morning to all the roasters out there, all the overnight dancers, all the folks getting off their graveyard shift. What is happening? Good morning, good morning, good morning. As the segment is sponsored by Golden State Lumber, serving the Bay Area for 3 generations. When you succeed, we succeed. Visit GoldenStateLumber.com. One of the most disappointing aspects about the Super Bowl, something we haven't really touched on, and it was Christian McCaffrey's up and down game. Had a very topsy-turvy, up and down Super Bowl, and it started on the first possession where he fumbles. And he doesn't get the ball for a while. He ends up having an impact. But he had a very up and down Super Bowl. You could see it on his face after the game. He was distraught, obviously, losing the biggest game, but he took it really, really hard. And what the Super Bowl should have been, like, obviously it would have been Kyle Shanahan. It would have been him kicking the door down and finally getting the big one. It would have been Brock Purdy, going to Disneyland or Disney World. Debo, Kittle all getting the rings. Oh, Trent Williams may have retired if he got his ring. Who the hell knows? But one thing that did overshadow
23
that Super Bowl loss was the season that Christian McCaffrey had. And it should have been the cherry on top for what was one of the best single seasons in 49ers history and one of the best single seasons we've ever seen here in the Bay Area. I mean, this guy scored a touchdown in 17 straight games, tying an NFL record with Lindy Moore. Broke the franchise record for most touchdowns in a season. All right? Over 2,000 all-purpose yards. Offensive Player of the Year in the NFL. On the short list for the MVP votes. What he did, I mean, Brock Purdy was special. Shanahan was dialing him up. Ayuk had a hell of a year. Kittle got his 1,000 yards. But this thing, it started and ended with Christian McCaffrey. He was the straw that stirred the drink. He was the guy who was the difference maker. He was the guy who could take a 7-yard run and turn it into a 70-yard touchdown with the help of great downfield blocking. But that Super Bowl loss overshadowed and made us forget just how special last season was for Christian McCaffrey, Shasky.
It was a special, special, special season. And, Frank Gore was not that long ago, and it feels like Frank Gore's already been, jumped over by Christian McCaffrey in terms of best 49er running back in most people's modern life. And I don't think that's a slight on Frank in any way.
Right.
We love Frank. And in the totality, the resume of his career is obviously significantly bigger than McCaffrey's. But McCaffrey's got a couple of seasons that dwarf, what Frank Gore did in terms of production. And to me, it's we can go yardage, we can go catch. I mean, he had like 65 catches last year. Yeah. It's the touchdowns, and when they come in games, it always feels like they're important. It's not the guy who hits 20 home runs, they come in an 8-1 loss in the 8th inning. The guy never comes through with a clutch one. Like all the McCaffrey touchdowns seem to be at key important moments in a game.
Right.
And to me, he's absolutely one of the great players in 49er history.
One of the great players in Niners history already. And you think about what he did with the touches, 1,459 rushing yards and 14 touchdowns on the ground, and 7 in the pass game, 67 catches, as you mentioned. I mean, he did a little bit of everything. And he's helped take this offense from a top 10 offense to one of the top 3 offenses, a dynamic offense. And you just think about the gladiator that he was. I think about the Monday night game. He shouldn't have played against Minnesota. He looked screwed up in that game. I mean, you see it before the game, concussion, the eyes. I mean, he was off all kind of smelling salts, but he willed his way to play that football game. He ends up scoring a touchdown on Monday Night Football. A nice little 30 to 40-yard screen pass where he breaks and the guy's a difference maker. But when I think about the Bay Area, the history of the Bay Area, where does his single season rank amongst the all-time greats? Like, we saw a special, and it doesn't get talked about enough. And we've seen some special seasons here in the Bay Area, whether it's baseball, basketball. We'll go through the list in a second here. But that season is one of the more iconic seasons I see for a 49er player. I mean, you got Steve Young in his MVPs. You got Jerry Rice in his 1987 season, which is unbelievable in his strike-shortened season. Ricky Waters has some seasons. Frank Gore has some seasons.
You could say Montana in 87 too. Also, I mean, his numbers were outstanding.
Yeah, they were outstanding. Outstanding.
I would also throw I know we don't look at the defensive players that way, but Navarro Bowman's 2013 is one of the great individual seasons that I can ever remember.
Deion Sanders is
another one. There's been some great ones. So when you asked me to do this exercise, hey, can you give me, a handful of the most outstanding? And I want to allow the audience to contribute. And so I went back in the yesteryear time machine. I like the old schools. Yep. Some of the old school ones that no one's going to reference, maybe Uncle Gene. And Uncle Gene, I'm not ripping you out there. but like, for example, all right, I looked at Juan Marichал's 1968 season. He went 26-9 with 30 complete games.
Wow.
Through 325 innings.
Wow.
325 innings with 218 strikeouts. Wasn't the runner-up for Cy Young. It was Bob Gibson, who had 13 shutout complete games. He had a 2.43 ERA. Again, let me read that again. 1968, Juan Marichal, 26-9, a 2.43 ERA, 325 innings pitched. Okay? He started almost 40 games, had 30 complete games. It's like almost unbelievable. He finished fifth in MVP in voting. That year, Bob Gibson ended up winning the Cy Young. He was 22-9 with 34 starts, 13 shutout complete games, only 300 innings pitched, but he had 270 strikeouts. So you're talking about, I know it gets lost. You're talking about McCaffrey getting lost.
Right.
How many people know that Juan Marichal did that?
Nobody. Not a lot.
Okay, let me blow your mind one more time. This is going to be one that we don't even, because Curry, unanimous MVP. Amazing. How about this? Averaging 48 minutes per game in 1962, Wilt Chamberlain, he averaged 45 points a game with 24 and a half rebounds. I want to say that again. Wilt Chamberlain in 1962 for the San Francisco Warriors averaged 45 points a game and 25 rebounds.
And ain't nothing you can do about it.
And 48 minutes played per game. He finished seventh in MVP voting.
Seventh in MVP voting.
It is sad, but it's true.
Seventh in MVP voting.
If I played NBA 2K right now, I couldn't average 48 minutes per game.
No, you couldn't.
With 45 points and 25 rebounds.
You couldn't.
So you're going to forget about that. The last one that I'll do is Willie Mays' 1962, where they went to the World Series. He finished second in MVP voting. I think Maury Wills or somebody else won the MVP. He had 49 home runs, 141 driven in, batted 300, okay? Had 36 doubles. I mean, this is an all-time. His OPS was .999. It's one of the great all-time seasons. He finished second in MVP voting. So I just wanted to go three from yesteryear that are never going to get spoken of. I thought Juan Marichal, I could throw Ricky Henderson's 1990, even though he won an MVP that year, or Kevin Mitchell's 89, even though he won an MVP that year. But those three in particular stick out to me. 62 in Wilt, 68 for Juan Marichal, and 62 for Willie Mays, because no one's going to bring those up.
Right. Bob Gibson, by the way, if you go look at his... I want you to go look at his World Series against the Boston Red Sox. He went 3-0. He won Game 7, and it wasn't even close. You just read his numbers from the World Series against the Boston Red Sox, and they're like, okay, yeah, this guy was badass. He was a badass.
In 68, he also won the MVP.
The year of the pitcher. What was his ERA?
ERA was 1.12.
Yeah, 1.12.
Let me give you the top 10 for MVP voting that year. It's actually incredible. 1968. Bob Gibson, followed up by Pete Rose, Willie McCovey, Curt Flood, Juan Marichal, who I referenced, Lou Brock, Mike Shannon, Billy Williams, Felipe, and Matty Alou.
That's pretty good.
Henry Aaron finished 12th that year.
Henry Aaron finished 12th
and
in
Willie
MVP.
Mays 13th. I mean, come on.
That's pretty stacked. So when I think about the best single seasons produced here in the Bay Area, and to me, here's a criteria for me.
Yeah,
it's obviously the raw data, the box scores, the numbers. but the feeling that you had watching this player.
Does the team have to win for you?
The team has to win. They have to have a level of success, no doubt.
Okay.
They have to be relevant when it comes to winning. But also that feeling. That feeling that you got watching. Like when we watched McCaffrey last year, we felt at ease. We're in great hands.
I felt like I was watching a first ballot Hall of Fame.
There you go.
Would you?
There you go.
Agree?
This guy is unbelievable. It's the same feeling I got when I watched him at Stanford. Is the same feeling I'm getting when I'm watching him with the 49ers. Like, I have one of the best players on the field.
Yes.
You can't do anything about it.
Yes.
You can't do nothing about him. McCaffrey was that guy. So when I think about the best single seasons I experienced in the Bay Area and the feeling that I got watching these series, like, you got to have a feeling where it's like, man, this guy can't be touched. Like, I think about Dwayne Wade a year or two after he won the championship with the Miami Heat. He was like walking on water down to South Beach, Miami. He was hitting everything, half-court shots. He was averaging 30. He was doing whatever. Just like, wow, D-Wade could do no wrong. Well, that feeling you brought up, you mentioned it. It's a unanimous MVP season of Stephen Curry, 2015-16. And it's been a while since we talked about it. We don't really discuss it enough because we're still in the midst of Steph Curry's career. But that feeling you got, and I covered a lot of those games, where he hit a half-court shot at the end of a quarter, like, and they all look good. You thought everything that he shot was going into the basket. And that year, I think people forget, he opened the season. He went 13 of his first 26 against the Pelicans in 2 of the first 3 games of the season. 13 and 26 from 3. All right? His first 3 games of that season, 40, 25, 53.
I think it's the greatest team that never won a championship.
The greatest team never won a championship.
Even better than that New England Patriots team.
I mean, the double bang game against Oklahoma City to go to 55-5. Steph Curry averaged 30 that year, became the first unanimous MVP in NBA history. His three-point percentage that year shot 45% from 3, Chasky.
45%.
45% from 3.
That's incredible.
45% from 3.
That's
he shot nearly 50% from the floor. And the feeling that you got, the bars were packed. The restaurants were packed. He was must-watch television. And he could do no wrong. And he was at the height, entering his prime. Where it's like, all right, this guy, he's coming off an MVP in which he averaged 24 a game and won a championship. Now he comes back and his point total goes from 23.8 to 30.1.
It's incredible.
All right? His three-point percentage, again, 45.5%. He shot 50%. He became a 50-40-90 guy that season. Unanimous MVP and carried the Warriors to a Game 7 in which they were 4 minutes away from winning that championship. A 73-9 regular season. It is one of the more iconic seasons I've ever experienced, and I got to understand it as an adult. And the feeling that you got when he was showing up to the gym. Those games, every game, ratings galore at NBC Sports Bay Area. I saw the ratings for that year. They showed me a graphic. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. They made your grandma a fan. They made your great-grandma a fan. They made your grandpa a fan. They made the most casual of casual basketball fans become diehard Warrior fans. That was a year. 402 made threes, an NBA record. That is one of the sickest seasons I've ever seen in Bay Area sports history. So that's one of them. And then I get to Barry Bonds.
I know which one I'm picking for Bonds, and it might not be the one everyone else picks.
Well, I tell you the one I'm picking.
Which one?
46 home runs.
2004.
370 batting average.
I agree with you.
The walks.
232.
The hits. I mean, it's better than 73 home run seasons.
But here's the best part about that 2004 team. I brought it up for a reason because I screenshot it. Listen to this lineup. A.J. Przinsky, J.T. Snow, Ray Durham, Davy Cruz, Edgardo Alfonso, Marquise Grissom, Michael Tucker, and Pedro Feliz, with Dustin Moore playing 100 games. He did that with that lineup.
Think about that season. Think about that. That's one of my favorite seasons because it gets lost in the sauce. He's 39 years old. He's 39 years old, folks. Actually, excuse me, my bad. I'm looking at I'm thinking 2002. But since you want to talk about 04 and that lineup, and the fact that he batted 362 with that lineup and hit 45 jacks is all the more impressive. But I'm looking at the 2002 season, a year after he hit the 73, 46 homers, 370 batting average, the OPS, the on-base percentage is off the charts. The walks, 198 walks. I mean, come on, man. This season, that season. Now, 04, he had 120 intentional walks.
He had 232
which
walks that year.
I know, which is impressive. 04 is impressive. You can pick 04, you can pick 01, you can pick 02.
I mean,
but 02 is one of the more impressive seasons I've seen in Bay Area sports history. And that's all sports. Like, we're really, like, 888-957-9570. I would love to hear people if you got a Patrick Marlowe season.
Like, I was actually, talking to a couple baseball guys about this, and for the older crowd, a young Vida Blue stepping onto the scene and being a Cy Young and MVP. And you're talking about intoxicating in terms of the style of play.
Right.
I think Steph Curry and Vida had a very similar aura about them. When one guy was on the mound, we talk about Dwight Gooden for our era. That's who Vida was for the generation just prior. And I know that we've kind of forgotten about Vida, but we shouldn't. Vida is an all-time legend.
We shouldn't. He is a rest in peace, Vida Blue.
I think about Ricky Henderson a lot, and I think that Ricky Henderson, the year, and I use 1990 as an example. You could pick a lot of them. He stole 120 bases one year. It was a lot younger, but he broke the stolen base record at 31 years old, Lou Brock's record, and then stole another 80 bases that year and had a 300 batting average and hit 28 jacks as a leadoff man. Ricky Henderson, to me, is again, as we talk about forgotten guys,
right?
Ricky Henderson is your leadoff hitter on the greatest lineup of all time.
Yeah, no doubt. Like,
it's for everyone, right?
Doubt.
Like, does anyone not have Ricky Henderson as their leadoff hitter?
He was unbelievable. You just look at the box score. You look at Kevin Mitchell's 1989. Because I looked at Kevin Mitchell, and it was going to make my list because that was the first year I fell in love with Giants baseball. 1989.
49 home runs.
Was the year I fell in love with Giants baseball. And the 49 home runs, the great catch, the barehand catch.
Barehanded catch.
Will Clark going grand salami and Gabe to the NLCS against the Chicago Cubs off of Greg Maddux. That was the team that made me fall in love with baseball. So Kevin Mitchell's season was up there. But these single seasons, when we think about them, we haven't talked much about Steph Curry 2015-16. We talk about Bonds, but not his individual seasons. What I don't want to get lost in the sauce is what McCaffrey did last year. And there's a reason to feel good about 49er football heading into this season. McCaffrey's back. McCaffrey's here. They swung the deal to bring in Christian McCaffrey. And this deal that they brought, that first of all, I don't even remember the picks they gave up. I don't remember the players. I don't care.
Second, third, fourth, and a fifth.
Who cares? I mean, I know who it is, but who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? Because at the time, some people said, man, you gave all that up for McCaffrey.
Yeah, it's worth it.
It was worth it 5 games into his tenure with the 49ers.
I actually put him in a Jerry Rice category. Not that he's got the resume of Jerry Rice, but I almost expect it. Like Jerry Rice, I expected 1,700 yards every year. Didn't you?
No, absolutely.
Right? Like,
absolutely.
With a couple of one-handed circus catches down the sideline. Like with Christian McCaffrey, we expect it. He's been so good. But I also think that his workload, like Jerry is Jerry. He stands alone. But his workload is so unique. We saw the single. I thought you might go Roger Craig. Going 1,000 is one of the more impressive things of all time. To do it on that team, right, where they had all of the weapons and to be that balanced and to do it that way. Is there anyone who is there anyone on the planet who doesn't think that if they wanted to just like chase stats that he couldn't do 1,000 every year?
Oh, easily, and he's already done 1,000. Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, but every year.
Every year, but he's already done it. And
time for the legal.
Oh, yeah. By the way, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMG FM and AC1 San Francisco, Odyssey Sports Station, always live on the free Odyssey app. What McCaffrey did last season on the field with all these Greek gods and all this talent, Debo and Ayuk and Kittle and Brock Purdy and whatnot, he's been the perfect joystick, the perfect weapon for Kyle Shanahan, a weapon that we keep saying, quarterback, when is he going to get his guy? When is he going to get his guy? Well, he tried to get Jerick McKinnon to play this role. And Jerick McKinnon tore his knee up a week before their game against Minnesota in 2018. He was never the same. Never the same. You finally get somebody like a Christian McCaffrey, and a lot of people had question marks about it. And you saw right away, wow, this guy's a 3-down monster. And last year, he was rewarded. He scored a touchdown in 17 straight games.
That's
for crying out
incredible.
loud. Tying an NFL record. He broke Jerry Rice's record. So as we think about the Super Bowl, and we've been doom and gloom, thinking about what could have been and some of the shortcomings, what about highlighting some of the greatness that we saw last year with this football team? It all starts with Christian McCaffrey. If you got any seasons, I'm seeing the 510 here. It's 50 the mobile text line. Jose Canseco's 40-40 receiver in 1988.
I think history has forgotten how good Jose Canseco was, and he's kind of like a joke. But yeah, it was one of the most impressive things ever. Now, Willie Mays scoffed at it. Oh, if I knew 40-40 was the thing, I would have done it every year.
Right.
But Jose did it, and he was the first to do it.
He did it.
The combination of power and speed, and then do it, with the Bash Bros. That team had about 4 or 5 different guys who were revolutionary. I think about the closer being
Dennis
the first guy to go 150 saves, 150 wins in his career. Eck was as dominant as they come.
Well, Dennis Eckersley, I believe, walked like 14 guys in 3 years.
Yeah, he was incredible.
Think about that. I think.
And what is he best known for? Sadly,
Kirk Gibson.
Yeah, which sucks. They should have won the World Series 3 years in a row.
They should have. They got swept by the Reds. You lose 5 against the Dodgers. You beat the Giants. But Dennis Eckersley from 89. Look at these numbers. From 89 to 93. All right. 89, Shasky walked 3 guys. 90, he walked 4 guys. 91, he walked 9 guys. And then it went up to 92, he walked 11 guys. So in 4 seasons, Dennis Eckersley walked 27 batters. And that's in over 200 innings.
I think Doval's walked 27 batters this year alone.
That's in damn near 300 innings. He's walked 27 guys. That's unbelievable.
There ain't nothing you can do about
it. That's just wild.
All right. So just some of the best individual seasons. I want to highlight McCaffrey because been a little doom and gloom to open up